Hello, hello, hello. Happy Wednesday. Hopefully everybody's been good. Hopefully you guys been having an awesome week. Hopefully things have been moving smoothly for you. We're approaching the holiday season, so it's kind of feeling like the holiday season, the new year is feeling like crunch time, right? I'm feeling that like end of the year hustle and bustle myself. So I'll make it quick. We have made it to week 3. Woo, 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 woo. Week 3 of what we know as how to use AI as a growth tool. I'm super, super, super excited. The first 2 weeks we covered, the first week we covered, make sure my Wi-Fi is on, and it is. The first 2 weeks we covered personal growth and evolution, which was week 1. And we talked about the 5 tools, which are, I have my notes so I can kind of run through them really quick. Cultivating patience and persistence, amplifying confidence and idea validation, developing creative thinking, encouraging ownership, and then reinforcing a growth mindset. So that was week 1 of how to use AI as a growth tool. Week 2, which was last Wednesday, we covered communication mastery, and the 5 SAY tools that we spoke on. And remember, SAY is in spirituality, AI, and entrepreneurship. The 5 SAY tools that we went over last week was practicing effective articulation. Remember, we spoke into the phone and we went over how to use ChatGPT as voice. Sharpening your questioning and asking skills. We talked about creating a safe and vulnerable space, and then streamlining your thought process to ultimately refine and reframe your ideas so that you can get your desired outcome. So this week, drum roll, this week we are talking about emotional intelligence, which is also known as EQ. And we're talking about emotional intelligence and self-reflection. And so let's jump in. So essentially this week we wanted to be able to take a deep dive into how ChatGPT has allowed me to deepen my self-awareness, navigate my emotions, increase the empathy that I have for myself and for others, and just become like this emotionally intelligent leader, right? And you're probably like, how did ChatGPT do that, right? So I just want to be very clear. In all the sessions that I'm speaking about, this was not a one-off lesson that I learned. This was because I continued to use ChatGPT, and pretty much to the point where I incorporated it into my entire life, right? So there's no thought, and I'm sure I've been mentioning this over and over, but there's no thought that sits idle in my mind, knowing that I don't have the answer for it, but it's still on my mind, and I'm not typing into ChatGPT. It doesn't matter if it's personal, if it's business, if it's health, if it's wealth, if it's family, is it financial, is it God, is it Bible, right? Like, because I have this tool at my disposal, I have absolutely used it, and it's pretty much indispensable, right? There is no shortage of answers for ChatGPT. And so because I use it in so many factors of my life, these are the things that has naturally helped me become a better person. And so I just want to be very clear. This is not a one-time occurrence. This is when you actively are using ChatGPT, when you are actively allowing yourself to be vulnerable with how you use ChatGPT and not worried about who's reading this on the other side or how they gonna know my business, right? Like, no, I use ChatGPT like it's my bestie, and I have 4 besties. So, I'm just saying. Now, let's get to it. EQ, emotional intelligence. And so before we go into like the 5 say tools, I think it's important to make sure that we set the gauge on how I would describe EQ and how I'm speaking about it, more importantly. So EQ is the ability to not allow your emotions to lead you, right? It's like you become unshakably you under any circumstances. So if your feelings are hurt, you still know that this is how you want to show up, so your emotions don't make you become a monster, right? Like you feel betrayed, your feelings doesn't allow you to go and do this thing and then realize, oh, you didn't have all the information. When you are operating and have an emotional intelligence, it's almost like the Wi-Fi for your emotions, right? You know, when you don't have data service and your phone stops working or is going slow, that is kind of what emotional intelligence is. It allows you to keep control of the wheel, whether it's your behavior or whether it's somebody else's behavior coming onto you. It also allows you to see yourself and know that you have the power to shift energy in the room, whether good or bad, right? And so then once you're emotionally intelligent, you begin to navigate things better. You begin to watch what you say because you know people will take it to the extreme and you were really throwing a joke, or, right? Like it allows you to kind of refine how you show up. But essentially, that's what emotional intelligence is. Now, as it relates, I have a favorite quote that I always say, and I absolutely would attribute it to being emotionally intelligent. I say, I don't match energy, I shift it. So that's just my little jam. When you see that on a t-shirt, you know you heard it here first. I mean, on the t-shirts that I'm going to put it on. Okay, and so self-reflection. Self-reflection is, it's like a gift that you continue to gift yourself with to ensure that you're not like embarrassing yourself, to ensure that you're not like looking and showing up as your old 20-year self and you're 38 now. Like it helps you set a radar, whether you reflect on it after, whether you're reflecting on it during the situation, whether you reflect on it 5 days later. It allows you to be in control with how you want to show up. When you reflect, when you do self-reflection, yeah, it allows you to decide how you want to show up and how you want to be perceived and what you want people to think about you, because you've seen when you were embarrassed because you did that thing, or you were aware that you were like, oh my goodness, I can't do that again, right? And you showed up differently. So emotional intelligence is essentially reading the room and being able to be according to who you want to be, regardless of what's happening outside of you or inside of you. And then self-reflection is saying, even when that thing does happen and maybe I do get a little emotional, I can tomorrow say, maybe I did too much. Maybe I should go and apologize. Maybe that wasn't right. Maybe they didn't mean it that way, right? Or, wow, I really have grown up. That's great. The old me would have did this, right? So that's what self-reflection is. That's why I say it's a gift, because you get to see you how others see you. And so the subtopics here that is going to be extremely important is resilience. And we'll go deeper into them, decision making and self-awareness, right? And so let's keep this conversation going. So the 5 say tools that we're going to be talking about this week is, let's dive into them. I'll speed through them and then we're going to take it back, spin the block on them. So it is building emotional resilience, It is improving your decision-making abilities. It is increasing your comfort with ambiguity. It is embracing self-awareness. And then it's ultimately self-evaluating without judgment. Okay? Yes, self-evaluating without judgment, because sometimes we are the harshest on ourselves. And so it is important that even when you do self-reflect, even when you do want to be emotionally intelligent, you don't let others manipulate you, one, and you don't manipulate others, but also you aren't too harsh on yourself even when you self-reflect. That is hugely important. So just saying. But as we speak about emotional resilience, how I used AI is, even if I went to it and I'm like, let me tell you what happened. This happened and this person was wrong. Da, 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 da. It's going to say, well, maybe you could have handled it like this, Smella, or sorry that you feel this way, but next time you could think about this. And so it literally allows me to learn how to deal with feedback, whether it's for me, like on my side, or against me. And so it naturally allowed me to kind of start, I love to use this word, unharden my heart, right? Because when things are not going your way, or when you feel like somebody's attacking you or something is getting tense, your heart starts to get hard. And once it starts getting hard, it's like closing up and like a lot can't come in. Well, emotional resilience has naturally allowed me to keep it pumping at the same pace. Allowed me to hear the tough conversation and know that this could just be the way that they feel. That doesn't mean that they're attacking me. It allowed me to kind of sit in the midst of tough conversations. It was naturally, I had seen myself improve. Like, wow, you sat through that. Oh, you didn't curse. You didn't get upset. You sat with your legs crossed the entire time. And I am literally a different person when I see myself in what could be an argument or a tough conversation, and I'm just sitting there and my facial expressions have naturally improved. But all of this that I'm explaining to you guys in all the weeks prior, it only happened because I allowed it to happen. It only happened because I decided to do the work. It wasn't as if these things suddenly suddenly became more emotionally resilient, even though I wanted to be stuck in my ways. Those things weren't part of the plan. I had to actually say, okay, I'm in agreement. I'm going to do this work, right? And then that's when it happened. So the next say skill is AI helps you make better decisions. Because oftentimes we don't realize we have blind spots, right? Because we show up to a thing, whether it's a situation, whether it's a job, whether it's an opportunity, only with the knowledge that we know. But oftentimes we don't know what we don't know. And so if I don't know that I don't know something, I don't even know how to ask for it or how to prepare for it or how to understand it, because I didn't even know that that was an option. So when I say AI helps me make better decisions, because we can weigh out our options, or I can say, hey, I want to try to do this with this amount of time or with this idea. What do you think? And while I'm only seeing two sides, they listed 10. And I'm like, oh my goodness, I didn't even know that that was possible. Right? Like, and so now I'm reading the other 8 and I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's interesting. But now when you're gifted with 10 answers, you have to decide which one is going to get you closer to your desired outcome. And so it's almost like you start doing a process of elimination, like, okay, or you say, I like 1, 5, and 7, and then you figure out how to combine them. But this is how AI has literally allowed me to make better decisions, because I became more equipped with options. And not just equipped with options and receiving the first option that they gave me, but asking more questions, which what we learned last week, asking better questions to get the desired outcome that I want, in combining them, whatever that looks like. And so over the course of time, I naturally made better decisions. I made faster decisions. I started trusting myself more, all because I have these conversations, whether they're tough or not, with ChatGPT to challenge myself, to see what I really want, to make sure that I'm not just being emotional, right? So far, emotional resilience, better decision making. Now, the comfort with ambiguity. It's crazy. That one is definitely more spiritual. I think I got most of my roots from it with the spiritual side, because oftentimes we don't know what's happening, and God is funny in a way that he don't tell you every step. He might just tell you the next step. And when you, operate from faith, ambiguity is just knowing that there's other ways to do this. But you don't have to know the other way, but you just have to be open to know that there's other ways. And so once you're open to know that there's other ways, and like you might have to change your route, you naturally become more comfortable with saying, I don't know everything, actually. I don't know, especially once you were playing around with ChatGPT to understand all these options, and you realize you had only thought about 2 when there was really 10 others. You then begin to be receptive to say, because I don't know everything, I don't want to approach this as if I know everything, and I'm going to leave room for the things that I do not know. And I'm going to be flexible enough to say that is a better idea, even though I didn't know it was a better idea, right? And so because life gets messy, because there's twists, turns, and things like that, being comfortable with ambiguity has been like a secret superpower of mine. It's allowed me to remain adaptable. It's allowed me to remain flexible. It's allowed me to say, you know what? I wasn't even thinking about that, but that do sound good, right? It keeps me, it is exciting because now you can't really predict what's happening next in your life, or what is, because routine is good, but who wants to be just like live a vanilla life? Nobody. So the fourth, say skill that I've learned since using ChatGPT that relates to emotional intelligence and relates to self-awareness. That relates to emotional intelligence, self-reflection, is self-awareness, right? And essentially, I feel like it allows me to see me how other people see me. It allows me to say, this is why people show up like this, right? Like, you know how when somebody playing in your face and you're like, what makes them think they could play in my face? But then if you sat back and you're like, maybe they did it because I allowed them to think they can do it, or because I've been receiving it for so long, now they think that that's okay, right? So when you become self-aware, whether it's good or bad, you can see how you show up. And you can then be even more aware to see how other people show up because how you show up. Let that sit in for a second. Yep. It's a mirror showing you your patterns, showing you this is how you've been showing up. And this is why people are doing this, or taking it this way, or understanding this, because you've been showing up mean. Yeah, you don't mean to be mean, but look how you talk to them. Look how you show up. You show up late to work. Of course they didn't think you wanted the promotion, right? Like, it literally allows you to see yourself how everybody else see you. But the true gift with self-awareness is adjusting. Once you see you, it's okay. You made a bad decision. You tripped. You didn't mean to. You've been mean for 6 weeks, and you wasn't really trying to be mean for 6 weeks. The beauty and the gift there is then saying, from 7 weeks forward, I'm not going to be mean anymore, because you became more self-aware. And so how AI has allowed me to do that is simply seeing when I ask better questions now, right? When I even understand what I'm trying to ask it. I could say it in one line now, because I'm understanding what I'm really trying to get at, because I'm understanding what I really want to accomplish, because I'm understanding who I really want to become. I can now put questions, have conversations, speak from a lens of awareness, and not just awareness of others, but awareness of how I show up and how I've been showing up. So hopefully that makes sense. And then the last but not least say skill that I've been learning that is related to emotional intelligence and self-reflection is self-evaluation without judgment. Okay, so this is big because, as I mentioned earlier, we will be the first ones to beat ourselves up. Oh man, I'm so stupid. I'm so this, I'm so that. I stopped talking bad to myself at least 4 years ago. Like, I don't call myself stupid. I don't say that was so dumb of you. In fact, if I have to say something for the sake of like having a go-to expression, I say the total opposite. Like, oh my God, you're so amazing, right? Even if I know I'm being sarcastic, I say it as if it's that, because I'm trying to reinforce this positive thinking, this positive mindset, right? And so when you do have, so me trying to train my mind to do that is just on a regular day basis, because we all know there's going to be moments when we beat ourselves up. We all know there's going to be moments when we are embarrassed of what we did, or we feel crazy behind it, or we feel disappointed in ourselves, right? But the true love and the true value of being self-evaluating is to do it without judgment. And to say, you know what, I did not see that coming. You're correct. I missed that, or I was moving too fast. And guess what you get to gift yourself with again? The ability to change it. The ability to say, because I went too fast and I messed that one up, next time that opportunity comes up, I'm going to make sure that I triple practice or triple show up better, or right, like, so all these skills and all of these say skills are lessons. They're like gems that can allow us to become our best self. And when we become our best selves, people are naturally attracted to us. The things that we want in life naturally come to us because we are open, loving, we're radiating that we're ready for it, right? And it naturally comes to you. And that could be from love, that can be from partnerships, that can be from opportunities, that can be from promotions, right? When you are in a state of receiving, your guard is not up anymore. Your guard is not always up. You're not always offended by everything. You're not always upset. You're not, because you can see how somebody could have gotten that wrong. Like, because you know that at one point you got it wrong. Because you know at one point you didn't understand what was going on. And so, and it's funny because I've been learning this from the computer, from having conversations with ChatGPT. I have been learning how to naturally improve and become a better person. And so this 4-week workshop on how to use AI as a growth tool was not just because I wanted to do something fun. It was literally in a moment, it came to me because I was able to look back at myself and say, wow, you have done so much. Wow, you really improved. Wow, how do you know these things, right? And so once I started doing that, I, of course, dropped it in ChatGPT like, wait, is it true that because I know how to do this and I've been doing this, I'm naturally a better this, right? Like, I was trying to put the pieces together. And it was like, absolutely, yes, because you're learning to ask better questions, because you're becoming more confident, because you are becoming more bolder, or like self-evaluating and learning fast and being flexible, you are naturally improving who you are. And so if that can help me improve from my personal development side and from my personal growth side, what can it do for my business? What can it do for creating the wealth that I want? What can it do for my children's lives? I don't have kids, but I'm just saying, if we choose to have some, whatever. What can it do for your kids' lives? What can it do for your new role or that new promotion, right? Using AI, specifically ChatGPT, as your brainstorming bestie is like, it's been the best gift that I've given myself. And I pay $20 a month gladly. I want to give them that money every time because I am evolving as a human being, as a founder, as a woman, as a partner, I naturally see myself in my evolution because I'm curious about the information, and then when it spits it out to me, I don't accept the first answer. I dig deeper, and then naturally I am more confident because I'm getting what I want, how I want it, when I want it, right? I'm naturally more confident to show up because I know what I'm talking about. It's like a gift that keeps on giving, and I think of AI as like a no judgment zone. I use it shamelessly. I use it as if it's like my non-judgy bestie that's going to be there in the mud with me to help me figure it out. Because truly it is a computer and it is there to help you figure it out. So once you learn to be patient with yourself and still ask questions until you get something that makes you happy, when you start being patient with yourself like that, you naturally become more patient with other people. So now you're not huffing and puffing in traffic. Now you're not huffing and puffing when an older person walking past you at the grocery store and it's only one lane, right? Because once you become generous to yourself and patient with yourself, it's how you show up. It's literally becomes who you are. And then now you're like calmer, nicer, happier, and things just come to you. It's a circle of, when people say, oh, I want my husband to be like this, I want my wife to be like this, it's a saying that say, write down everything that you want your partner to be, everything that you want them to, how you want them to behave, how you want them to think, what you want them to look like, how they dress, like all these things. Write it down. And once you're done writing that list down and you smile and then you're like, ooh, babe, gonna be so fire. Guess what you have to do? Become all those things on that list in order to attract those things on that list. I'm gonna let that marinate for a second. You have to become all those things on that list in order to attract all those things on that list. That's wild. So, being emotionally intelligent and having a self-reflective personality or abilities, it allows you to identify your blind spots. It allows you to show up as your authentic self. And then AI has helped me navigate tough conversations. It literally, because once I have them with the freaking computer, I can now know how to have them when it actually happens in the real world or when it's actually happening in real time. So you may be asking yourself, why does all of this matter? Why do this workshop matter, Samela? Why are you talking about emotional intelligence and self-reflection? And I have 4 reasons as to why it matters. The first one is better decisions overall. We talk about dating the same type of person, having the same type of trauma, choosing the same type of job. Well, guess what? When you are emotionally intelligent and you can self-reflect, you can make better decisions. You can set better boundaries. You can show up better. So overall, it just helps you make better decisions because you trust yourself, because you went over it and you reflected on it and you seen how you could have been wrong and how they was trying to be nice or how they was being wrong and you were trying to be nice. And so you're okay with the friendship ending because you know that you showed up with the best possible energy. You didn't make them feel away, right? And so that's one of the reasons why it matters. The next reason is resilience. If I had to give myself one of my stronger characteristics is resilience. It's being able to bounce back. It's your bounce back game, right? Because you can get punched, but can you bounce back? You can get told no, but can you bounce back? And not just bounce back, but show up in the same spirit of excellence prior to you getting punched in the first place, prior to you getting that no in the first place. And so resilience is something that is admirable, and most people admire it in others, but most people don't necessarily desire it for themselves because they feel validated to make excuses or to complain or to be mean or to just be their lower version of themselves, when in fact if you stretch yourself a little bit, you can become your best self and you realize you're not living up to the fullness of your potential. And I'm done with that, Before I knew that I wasn't living up to the fullest of my potential, that's fine. But now that I understand that there's so much more in life, there are so many more things that I could be doing, there's so much more opportunities, why do I not deserve them? And then because I believe I deserve them, what's stopping me from getting them? And oftentimes it's because it's me. It's because how I show up. It's because how I treat people. It's because how I allow my emotions to take over. Nobody's going to invite you to this room with all of these millionaire billionaires when you drink too much and you get sloppy. Nobody's going to invite you to this exclusive business trip when you start crying every time somebody says something to you, right? Or you get offended easily and now you shut down. Those are not, that doesn't work like that. So you have to be emotionally intelligent to even level up your life, because the higher the rooms you go, the more emotionally stable you have to be, right? Because people want to be able to say, no, Samela would never do that. Because for the last 6 years they've been around Samela has been emotionally stable, right? But if they don't know what you might do, when you might do it, you're probably not going to get those invites. And then even if you did do something and you went back and you reflected on it and then you came back to them and say, you know what, I am so sorry that I acted that way yesterday. Or you know what, thank you so much for doing this for me, right? When you can reflect on something that happened, whether it was good, better, and different, and then hold yourself accountable for it, acknowledge it to the person in which it happened to, they will then be like, oh, and then you don't show up that way anymore, so that's why it matters. Went off track, resilience, whatever, went on a tangent, but I just love this type of stuff, growth. It's been my thing. The next thing, so the two things so far is better decision making. It allows you to be more resilient. The third thing is empathy, right? When you self-reflect and you see, even when you're emotionally intelligent, you knew what it took inside of you to remain calm. One, during whatever type of situation, you knew what it took for you not to lose your mind or curse them out or, storm out of the room or cry or whatever, right? And those are just some of the not so pretty emotions, but they're definitely required. But even the other way, you knew what it took to not scream when this celebrity walked by or your crush walked by, or you know what I mean, or when your bank account hit this amount, you didn't have to go crazy, right? So it's just balancing emotions, whether they're good, better, and different. And so when you become empathetic, you know that could have very well been you. That could have been me. So Even though I just learned to control myself yesterday, why would I judge them and they haven't learned to control themselves yet? So you naturally become like, okay, you give grace easily because you know that you were once that person. You know that you were once that way, or that young girl, or that, immature or irresponsible, or all those things. And so then you give grace to the person who hasn't gotten it yet, even though you've gotten it the entire time, or you're recently getting it, or you've been getting it for a year. And then you naturally, you just offer it to them. You offer the grace to them. And then you become a trusted source, because now they feel comfortable with you. Now they feel like they can trust you. Now they feel like you're not judging them. But guess what? Because ChatGPT has gifted you with so many opportunities to drop crazy questions in it, and it gave you unbiased answers, you can also gift that with another human being. Allow them to ask crazy questions and not judge them, or not know something that you felt like they should have known. So, and then last but not least, why this matters is clarity. It makes you see how others... No. So the clarity that it gifted me with from becoming more emotionally intelligent and self-reflective, the clarity is when somebody says something to me and they're trying to like offend me or belittle me or whatever, I'm not even fazed by it, because I'm very clear on who I am. I'm very confident with who I am, because I know that I went through that decision and I made the best decision possible with whatever it was I had. I know that the old me would have jumped off the hinges and went left, but I didn't, right? Like, so I know who I am. And so even in the midst of somebody else trying to say that I'm something else, the clarity around being emotionally intelligent and self-reflecting is unfazed. Like, you become unbothered. Like, it don't even touch you no more, because whatever they saying don't even matter, because you know who you are and how you've been. And another thing it does is it allows you to then adjust who you hang out with, how you show up, because people oftentimes treat us how we allow them to treat us. And so if your pattern has been to threaten, say you're going to leave, cry, do all this, and you've never left, and you've been using that same threat, and you wonder why they're still doing you like that, it's because you've allowed it. But then when you're clear on who you are and what you put up with, and, how you've been good or not good or whatever, you can then show up and say, this is it. You can show up with clarity on what needs to happen on that situation, with that situation, because you're clear and you understand how you've been showing up emotionally, good or bad or indifferent, and how you can improve from a self-reflective state. So I hope this information has been valuable. As I mentioned to you all before, the goal, I've been called, and when I say called, I'm saying from our good Lord. I've been called to step into a position of being a say thought leader, which is something I absolutely made up, but it's totally aligned with my areas of love and passion, and that is spirituality, that's AI, and that's entrepreneurship, which is the same model, right? And part of the same model is making sure that my people, my community, my tribe does not get left behind in any way, shape, or form. We are looking ahead at a world that is changing rapidly right before our very eyes. And instead of us sitting on the sideline watching it happen, it's important that we equipped ourselves with the tools, the knowledge, the skills, and the resources that's at our disposal to become better and to start living the life that we say that we want to live, because the shoulda, coulda, wouldas are played out. And so me doing these workshops is to allow you all to see how I'm using AI and how it's helped me out, but also allow us to learn it together. Also allow us to explore it together, right? Because oftentimes when you feel intimidated by something, you can talk yourself out of it. But if you're doing it as a collective, you can say, "Oh, I wasn't thinking about it that way. Let me try it that way," right? We can begin to exchange notes, and then we can make sure that we're all moving along together on this train. And so that's why I'm doing these workshops. I'm hoping that it will help. I'm hoping that it will encourage some people, and I'm hoping that you will start using AI in your everyday life, not just for work, but for your personal growth, your finances, your wealth, your Bible study, your relationship improvement, your weight loss journey, right? Like, it literally can help you with anything that you're thinking about, and it can help you do it sooner, better, and probably bolder, in ways that you did not even think about, or even if you did think about it, you didn't know, you couldn't identify the route to make it possible. So please, I beg you all to start using AI, whatever your preferred platform is, from a brainstorming app. Mine is ChatGPT. Everything I'm talking to you about and that I will be talking to you about is because of my use with ChatGPT. In the meantime and in between time, I hope you all be great. Our holiday season is approaching. I will still do the final fourth week, which is going to be on, let me make sure, strategic thinking and accountability. And we're going to cover how to risk assess so that you can take risk, because we all know that nothing great's happen on the sideline. Nothing great happens when you play it safe. Making smarter decisions, smarter and more strategic decisions, and then moving with intentionality to get results while holding yourself accountable. So strategic thinking and accountability is the last week of our 4-week session of how to leverage AI as a growth tool. Be great. I believe in you. I'll see you guys next week.